Welcome to our YouTube channel, where we take you on an adventurous journey through the world of archaeology and history mysteries. Today we have news for you. New discoveries have been made in the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. These discoveries shed new light on the mysteries surrounding this ancient structure and allow us to further deepen our understanding of ancient Egypt. Here we go. Archaeologists and antiquities Zahi Hawass was accused of stealing Egyptian currency. Antiques on the list of things that might have been taken by the renowned Egyptianologist. The strangest artifact, the historic copper wires from the Cheops Pyramid, also known as the Great. In fact, the Pyramid of Giza is really unusual, that when electricity hadn't not yet been found. However, there were. What's even with the copper wires in this pyramid, stranger still is that someone chose to steal. Those cables, appearing to be an archaeologist, fervently desired to keep something from the certain historians disagree with the public that the Cheops Pyramid is a tomb. There even exists a pharaoh of Egypt. Theorizing that it was constructed by a greater Elon Musk once discussed ancient civilization made a controversial claim on his that according to him, the pyramids were constructed by aliens in reality, and at the same time, numerous oddities were discovered. The Great Pyramid in Egypt. You most likely think that anything, and the most crucial factor is even who constructed it. But what this structure was in. Why is the Great Pyramid so far away generally compared to what we first believed foreign, the Big Pyramid? The largest in the globe, it is thought. The construction of the pyramid took more than 2 million stones, 20 years. Blocks and other objects that were not only by 20,000 employees at the building site, but was also brought by at a distance. In contrast to other pyramids, it doesn't appear to be a tomb at all. Yet when vacationing at Giza, one of Egypt's most populated cities, a guide will also guarantee you the opposite. Various intricacies in the history over time, the Great Pyramid could increase your suspicions, such as the idea that the pyramid was white once. Egyptian researchers asserted that the polished walls made of white limestone allowed the pyramid will illuminate the room with its sunlight reveals splendor and beauty. But the top part, which is the most exciting, is that of the building referred to as the Pure Midian, formerly coated in gold to reflect the sun's rays in a stunning way. The pyramid was therefore just brilliant, and revealed that a wealthy pharaoh was interred in the white walls of the time the stolen from the pyramid, when marauders went missing after taking the gold pyramid. But even now, this mausoleum is impressive, despite the fact that it is large. According to the Great Pyramid's guide, is still not completely finished. The structure has slightly dipped, and it's just over 130 meters in height. Although prior to constructing the Eiffel Tower, the Great Pyramid was regarded as the tallest. Construction throughout the world at the time reached a massive 139 meters or roughly 70 feet is the distance. Camels perched atop one another in the pyramid weights 10 million pounds. Camels, solely due to the builders. Really heavy granite. Intriguingly, the region to the northwest of the pyramid Saqqara's Serapeum, and there are 20 ancient Egyptian temples. Enormous sarcophagi with exquisite embellishments, they are all made of the same substance. Equivalent to 20 elephants in weight. Egyptian scholars think that for the dead, sarcophagi were used as coffins. Bowls intended to hold the pharaoh's prizes to be in one of the great's rooms pyramid. However, it appears that they just weren't able to fit in the tunnels, so they, if common, kept in a separate room. Such a large number of cattle were interred. Look at the tomb of the Egyptian pharaoh. Amazing on tour, you'll lose patience to enter the pyramid. Look at the unimaginable wealth interred with the pharaoh. Photographed historic sites to approach the mummy and touch objects. The man turns to go, but unfortunately, you won't be able to see any of this body. No, Pharaoh Cheops has not yet been located. There is a sizable stone in the alleged tomb. According to Egyptologists, a granite box is the pharaoh's sarcophagus, and to be found in the king's room. Nonetheless, this cobblestone doesn't have a chamber. Look a lot like other people's sarcophagi pharaohs. I'm sorry, it's even worse. Compared to the bull's caskets when questioned where the body of the pharaoh and the Egyptologists' relics are in the burial room, have a different universal response. They seemed like they had been stolen at first. There is nothing noteworthy in the supposedly the tomb of the pharaoh. However, this you must also listen in addition to looking. However, in the king's chamber, unique acoustics are created, which is very strange what the builders intended to accomplish such a result for a space where a body is simply lie for centuries. But you'll learn more about it on the tour. Stranger and stranger nuances for why, for instance, do pyramids have tunnels that depart deeply below the guiding? Does not possess a response to this query. Because there are still uncharted territories? Yep, according to scientists, under the pyramid when groundwater was discovered in the low 4 structural components, but once more didn't discover a justification for it. The pyramid was positioned above. Then the following puzzling nuance is the enigmatic void discovered inside the tomb was located with the aid of a muon radiograph. The pyramid was simply scanned to learn about the areas that are still undiscovered. Egyptologists in parts have a suggestion that there was once a ramp in this void during construction, moving blocks, and once the tomb was complete, they just neglected to take it out and filled it in. Unfortunately, as it turns out, on the one the Great Pyramid was constructed over a period of 20 years, whereas on the other, however, it still had several issues, such as if the construction crew acted quickly simultaneously based on unexpected impacts inside the Egyptologists accidentally produced a pyramid, and some criminals stole the most. A significant remnant could be that, simply put, Egyptologists don't want them to know something publicly. Consider very noteworthy features of the Great Tomb. If this pyramid was a tomb, Pharaoh Cheops, its tomb. Each aspect of the pyramid, each of which Egyptologists refer to a mishap as a coincidence, can rationally be explained as yes, the Great Pyramid of Cheops is explained was in fact previously encased in polished white limestone. Thus, the building edges became smooth and flawless, but all it was more for necessity than for aesthetic, besides reflecting the sun's rays. This would make it appear like a mirror. It's feasible to modify the interior of the well-shielded from sunlight pyramid. What's intriguing about it is what it's composed of: a small bit of granite and dolomite, odd, considering that granite is one of the world's toughest stones, and its processing requires 10 times more time than abundant processing of limestone close to the pyramid. Granite was transported boat from an 800-foot quarry near Aswan, kilometers away from the job site. You must acknowledge that it's unlikely that Egyptians would have taken the trouble. Much with a challenging material transporting and processing for a normal tomb, it is deemed that the selection of such a difficult material is being supported by the presence of quartz, and at the same time it contains metal crystals. Granite releases a little bit of, most significantly, it is a radiation, an excellent piezoelectric conductor. A charge produced by crystals dolomite enhances electrical conductivity, which as compared to the gold on the pyramidion might produce a conducting field. A way for the energy to travel up the Great Pyramid is also geographically situated over an effective natural source. Specifically, underground rivers and water are also fantastic current conductor. You have a lengthy comprehended what these theories of independent studies revealed, that there's no pharaoh's remains, no artifacts, or anything else accoutrements for the ruler's funeral, due to the fact that it is not a ruins but a historic power station. Additionally, it is intended to produce and transmitting wireless power at where the sarcophagi discovered in the pyramid, and there may be one next to it. A massive archaic version of contemporary batteries following the completion of all boxes using the same radioactive substances. Internal components of the pyramid, as well as these oddities, are not the only ones that show that there is a chance the tomb is a power station surrounding the pyramid. There was an increase in electromagnetic output, equivalent to that which was discovered. It is thought that during an electrical storm that it might have intrinsic origins. Chambers at the base of the structure in this, the transmission of power to the just copper wires, are required for the intended spot. According to reports, the pyramid was. It appears that Zahiha was everything, although one does fit. But according to Egyptologists, the pyramid, it's improbable that it has remained incomplete. Or am I one that may serve as a power plant wrong? Christopher Dunn, an engineer from England Explosion, observed strange fissures on the ceilings of the pyramids, some of them chambers. He suggests that there may have been an explosion Egyptian occurred within the building. Scholars only recently disregarded such an alternative, but lately even they've started discussing a potential ancient B earthquake-like catastrophe, that although you perceive no damage to the pyramid, the chamber was determined to be damaged. There was a pyramid, but underneath it, intended to be nearer the earthquakes, however, the walls in the epicenter. The king's chamber simply appeared convex, and there are spaces between them. The floor, which would suggest that an explosion damaged the walls. The so-called pyramid inside the today's pharaoh's sarcophagus has a brown chocolate instead of the original. It was a pink hue of Aswan granite, produced from the alteration in color. It transpires that extreme heat is the source of several years ago. A strong energy impulse possibly took place in the chamber. Some scientists say this will cause an explosion. Consider that the unique acoustics in there is a purpose behind the king's room. It can be used, which is a fact. Long-distance energy transmission. You can accomplish this by converting kinetic energy from acoustic energy. Think of an opera singer who misbehaves. Glass speaking in frequency with sound waves from the singer are in sync with the glass's resonance frequency, and acoustic energy is converted to kinetic energy. Electricity transmitted wirelessly could be performed even with solid spanning long distances, materials, and this Great Pyramid's mystery could have been disclosed by a well-known at the turn of the 20th century. A physicist, Nikola Tesla, a Serbian-American engineer, asserted that he might utilize the planet itself. It has 2 poles and is extremely large, electrical power source with endless energy. The public was amused by this news in 1905. Physics community as a whole, Tesla's discoveries were in opposition to understanding of that period. But that didn't. The best way to stop him is to... He started to think of unlimited electricity, the top layer of the ionosphere planetary atmosphere. According to scientists, that it actually sparks with electricity that is readily available intercepted. The issue is still minor. To construct a suitable station and demonstrate, proving to everyone that he was correct, he began developing Tesla's electromagnetic pyramid, also known as Pyramid of Tesla Cliff. Tower's Warden's Tower had a Nikola Tesla, in nearly perfect middle form, was deeply enthralled by the great. The issue with the Cheops pyramid is that precisely positioned pyramid faces the cardinal point only deviates 3 angular minutes. That you can comprehend how fussy this alignment claims to be. Not to be overlooked is the Paris Observatory. This is the most precise arrangement. Currently it is facing north and strayed 6 angular miles from true north. This is incredible given that the ancient Egyptians had no, even although it's not the most shocking compasses occurrence when researchers measure the pyramid's primary edge, and those figures came in height to scale 1 to 43,002 up 100. What makes it so unique? The information that if we increase by multiplying the height of the pyramid by this amount, we obtain the planet's polar radius. Most likely such high accuracy wasn't achieved unintentionally as a result of its dimensions and placement of the pyramid. May resound at a frequency of 8.1 Hz, and according to Tesla, our planet followed suit after numerous Tesla's estimates and discoveries where the station is located after it built the Great Pyramid under the laws. Based decisions on the ratio of the elliptical planet orbit and additionally, it was crucial that there if the tower had undercurrents, as in he discovered a casing for the Great Pyramid. Comparable location on the east coast of Colorado Springs, where he started to construct his experimental station pyramid. Copper wires were utilized, and at the A metal coil at the top made it move. It is feasible to develop a short-range magnetic field simultaneously. The power generated by the station would transmit it in the air instead than across cables, simply in the form of waves like modern Wi-Fi. Tesla, though, desired to make something like a transformer compatible with an Earth-like conducting layer ionosphere as well. But even if we suppose that Crucial Ops Great Pyramid did the same location where it sent its additionally, this query has some suppositions they discovered in Egypt. Unknown obelisks, huge high stones similar to the pyramids themselves. They constructed with granite and quartz stones that could act as obelisk toppers. Overall recipients were Egyptians. 28 obelisks were produced. But for some reason identical stones were also discovered in Paris, New York, Rome, and Istanbul. It has been discovered that about 2600 BC, the Greek pyramid might have been functional as an effective wireless power source, and it could have been exposed by Tesla. Was a century ahead of contemporary science. Just began discussing it alone. Nonetheless, the tower project of the most talented physicists failed in that order for the same electrical potential to be reached which, in the words of Tesla the Great, the engineer was on the Pyramid of Cheops. Needed to reiterate its organization as unfortunately as accurately as possible. Tesla didn't employ 20,000 people or spending a big sum of money work and make the required purchases materials, including this and several others. There were obstacles to the scientists' work. Customers became weary of waiting for the promised scientific breakthrough. As a result, sponsorship ended and the project was finished. If Tesla had been successful, but what if Tesla had actually been successful? Then in the 19th century, our forefathers I would have driven an electric vehicle. If there were any issues, Elon Musk wouldn't have made a fortune with Tesla cars before Tesla. Additionally, he drives a sophisticated electric vehicle are pricey, but they're far from ideal, and takes a long time to charge, and there are not many quick charging facilities. Currently, scientists have not figured out the Tesla Tower's trade secret. Thus, they're tortured by the construction of new roads constructed using magnetic concrete, So possibly, electric automobiles could be charging while driving, but not yet success despite Tesla's desire to his creation was made public, and his backers unsure of how to prevent others from Tesla intended to do this by stealing energy. In order to create wave frequencies that would in a coded sequence, or alternatively, the receiver needed to understand the code to the resonator's timing to receive A as it occurs with the password signal on your router. Tesla also stated that he made possible via his ingenuity people could communicate through voice media stories, signs, and even photographs taken using this method from a distance. Something Tesla might have been able to achieve making a model of the internet as it exists today. Hollywood was then already in the 1930s. Sorry, Maritza, an actress, wouldn't have star of movies shot in black and white. She would live for her instead. Rich patrons, whereas Grant would likely produce paintings with artificial intelligence, AI, as opposed to if Nikola Tesla's design, paint on canvas. If it had worked, many would have eliminated everlasting wires and chargers. But if at the prior to Tesla, people were previously aware of it's far more interesting to use electricity, to learn how a wireless power source works. Ancient people may have used plants. Egypt was discovered during the excavations, investigations into the Egyptian pyramids. Archaeologists did not discover any historic equipment that can require electricity city, but they thought that was quite odd. Symbols discovered in the Hathor Temple situated in the city of Dendora in Egypt. Some believe that this artwork is akin to a contemporary light bulb. If that is the case, that electricity was utilized by Egyptians as early as 2250 BC, or even earlier electrical engineering that aided the Egyptians construct such substantial structures without wearing out people. Considering that the harm was caused by work, a group of historic Egyptians stationed in if the formation of a pyramid didn't occur, then wouldn't think of as the richest nation Luxembourg to be when the most a nation that sells electricity wouldn't be Canada as one of the most developed nations along Turkey and Italy would be included alongside Egypt. After all, the UK and the USA are ancient. There were obelisks made of granite that'd suggest that wireless communications having initially been present there. Certainly, this is how radio towers would appear. Like now, for perhaps instead of the entirety of Leaning Tower of Pisa Palace and the pyramids of the Eiffel Tower would currently stand. Italy, India, and China are all wealthy nations. Inside granite, and these nations well enough to afford to build the same power plants similar to those in ancient Egypt. What do you think about the fantastic write your name on the Pyramid of Cheops comments with your ideas? But you'd better avoid paying $20 for a tour guiding Giza in an effort to identify the answer. Like and subscribe to my channel for more mind-blowing revelations on history's most controversial topics. Thank you for watching.